I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining our presentation of Energy Smart Homes Briarcliff Ossining. We're joined tonight by a great group of people, our contractors, our volunteers, and Dana Levenberg, the supervisor of Ossining, is going to kick off the presentation.
Lauren, thank you so very much. It's such a pleasure to be here. Town of Ossining is a proud partner with the villages of Ossining and Briarcliff. And we're so excited to partner with Sustainable Westchester to bring the Energy Smart Homes program to our community. Residents are encouraged to explore their home's energy usage and tap into rebates and incentives to implement energy savings measures like insulation and clean heating and cooling. Together, these measures will help us reach our climate goals. We're working to get the word out to our entire community about the benefits of changing your heating and cooling systems, and we really want to thank Green Ossining for helping get the word out, as well as the Sustainability Committee in Briarcliff, and they've been really great partners with us. And in fact, I'm going to say, Susie Ross, you gave us the idea even to apply for this. We applied for a grant through NYSERDA and with, again, Sustainable Westchester as a partner, and we won the grant to bring these options to our residents. So we're very excited. There are options for homeowners as well as renters, and you're going to hear more from our contractors this evening. We have lots of green initiatives that we've undertaken in our communities, which include such things as electric vehicle charging stations, adding electric vehicles to our town and village fleets. We've also introduced food scrap recycling, which you can do at the farmers market in Ossining or at Cedar Lane Park. We have introduced community choice aggregation, also known as Westchester Power, where you get basically you're buying into electricity supply through an aggregated program that Sustainable Westchester launched. And that's instead of somebody else supplying your electricity, and it's 100% green in the town and village of Ossining. Also, we have wonderful local community partners across the board, and all of this is to gain energy efficiencies and also to save you money. So we're hoping that you're going to learn a lot this evening, what you can do to improve your home's efficiency and, like I said, save you money. And there's more good stuff coming. I believe that Susie Ross from Green Ossining is going to talk to us a little bit about Ossining 100, Cure 100, which is communities united to reduce emissions, and the carbon tracker and how you can use that to your benefit to learn about your energy use and where you might be able to shave off some of that use and reduce your impact on carbon emissions. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lauren, and you can take us through the rest of the program.
Thanks, Dana. Okay, everybody. So we are going to get right into the slideshow. I'm going to share some slides with you, and we will move through the presentation together. So let me just get that. Can you see the title slide?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Good stuff. Okay. So Energy Smart Homes. Thanks again, Dana, for the great introduction. Energy Smart Homes is here to help you figure out what is the best pathway forward for reducing your energy bills and lowering your carbon footprint in your home. So today we are going to be talking about what Sustainable Westchester is. Susie Ross will be sharing a little bit about Ossining 100. We are going to hear from each of our partner contractors about their technologies. We're going to get a quick note about GridRewards, and then we're going to break out into breakout rooms with our contractors so that people can ask specific questions about the technology that they're interested in. And I will say we have a lot of information packed into this session tonight, so hopefully this just gives you a little taste of what's going on. And if you are left with more questions after the presentation is over, feel free to hang out in the breakout rooms to get your questions answered, but also give us a call at the office, send us an email. We're happy to answer additional questions after the presentation. So Sustainable Westchester is a nonprofit organization. We are comprised of our member municipalities. Almost every single municipality in Westchester County is a member of Sustainable Westchester. And we provide, let's see if I can get to the next slide. This is our slide, the overview map, and these are the programs that we provide. We have information like we're going to talk about tonight for reducing your home energy bills, but we also have information about community solar, saving 10% on your electricity bill without installing solar panels. We operate the Westchester Power Program, which is supplying green renewable electricity to many homes, over 115,000 residents in the county. We have information about if you want to buy an electric vehicle and are not sure which way to go, we can help advise you about that. We also offer zero waste programming. So for tonight, one special thing we're doing is for each person that's on the call, we're going to be planting a tree in a national forest. And I can't tell how many people are on the call, but I think we're definitely planting more than 80 trees tonight, which is pretty cool. So thanks for joining. Okay, so before we get into the details of the technology, Susie Ross from Green Ossining will be sharing a little bit more about Cure 100. Okay, Susie.
Thank you. Hang on one second. Sorry.
Okay, that's
all right. You can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Terrific. I'm just going to give you this as you'll advance them, right?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Okay, so everyone, good evening. On behalf of Green Ossining, we're really excited to be bringing residents of both the villages of Briarcliff and Ossining and the town of Ossining a tool that really speaks to you and your household's personal carbon emissions, and it's called the Cure 100 Carbon Tracker. I'm only going to be speaking briefly about it here tonight, but it's such a compliment to the EnergySmart Homes program that we wanted to take 5 minutes to include it in an overview here. So before I dive in to the nuts and bolts of this free app that's now available to the greater Ossining community, I want to quickly explain some of the acronyms. Ossining 100 is a chapter which consists of a team of Green Ossining members that are dedicated to educating and showing our community how to reduce carbon emissions through high impact actions. The Ossining 100 chapter, which we just launched, is one of a growing number of chapters in a consortium called Cure 100, which Dana mentioned earlier, and that is communities united to reduce emissions by 100%. Now, the concept of Cure 100 was created by our really smart friends up in Croton, whose mission through the launch of the Croton 100 chapter is to advocate, educate, and create campaigns that get community members to really better understand their carbon footprint. And that's how the Cure 100 Carbon Tracker came to be. It was really to let people be able to see like the information needed to make more informed changes to reduce their carbon emissions. Next slide. So the importance of this carbon tracker app, the launch of it is really because the time is right. The UN panel on climate change warned in 2018 that we needed to limit our global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius to make our adaptation to a warming planet less difficult. And the main driver of our warming planet comes from human-caused use of fossil fuels. Secondly, in 2019, the New York State passed what is perhaps the most aggressive climate legislation in the country with the passing of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And that calls for a cut in carbon emissions by 40% by 2030 and net zero by 2040, as well as moving to 100% carbon-free electricity by 2040. And lastly, with the launch of EnergySmart Homes, we're excited to be working on a third major program collaboration with Sustainable Westchester that will once again focus on reduction of our fossil fuel usage. So next slide, please. Next. Okay, thank you. For a matter of reference, I'd like to, you're going to go back now.
Yeah, it's going back. Oh.
So I'd like you to keep in mind that currently the global carbon footprint estimate is about 7 tons on average per person annually. Now in Westchester County, that per person estimate is about 21 tons. So that's 3 times the global average. By 2050, various estimates suggest that our ambition really should be to shrink our carbon footprint to between 1 and 1.5 tons. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's talk about what changes we can make in a gradual way that will help us get there and how Ossining 100 can help. Next one, thank you. The goal of Ossining 100 is extremely simple. We seek to reduce our emissions as a community from its baseline amount in 2020 to 0 by 2040, in keeping with the urging of the United Nations. So we will reduce our emissions by 5% a year until we get to zero by 2040. In other words, 20 steps down the carbon ladder till we achieve net zero in 2040. So this is all about carbon reduction. Next. So with the help of the carbon tracker, we can quantify community-wide emissions, emissions by household, individual emissions, emissions by sectors such as transportation, heating, diet waste, and I'll just show you a couple of those as we get towards the end, and carbon reductions. And the tracker also provides directional guidance for step downs. So here's where you go. And I'll put this information into the chat in a moment. Next slide, please. So at the Green Ossining website, are you there yet?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. At the Green Ossining website, you'll see the carbon tracker in the menu bar. And before you get started, you'll be given some information about things you'll want to have in hand so you can set up your personal household profile. All in all, the setup should probably take about 45 minutes. Next slide. In your profile, you'll go through a series of prompts that are really very user-friendly, and they should be relatively easy to answer with the information needed on hand. Next slide. Once completed, you'll get an overview of your carbon footprint by the various sectors and how that compares to others. And then drilling into, whoops. Yep, there you go, thank you. Drilling into each sector, you'll be offered guidance on options to consider in order to make those step downs. Next slide. So now the following is a high-level view that shows you the types of information the carbon tracker may offer to an average individual, so you can better understand the suggested step downs from that quantifiable perspective. So right now, as you can see, there's a quantifiable difference with transportation. If your child rides a fossil fuel school bus, and most of ours do if they ride the school bus, and you drive an SUV, making different choices will lower your footprint substantially. Next slide. You can pass through the rest of these pretty quickly. Electricity choices have a tremendous impact. And by recycling, you can obviously see we reduce our impact. And so by recycling, you're actually reducing your impact to 0.5 ton. Next slide. And airline travel, I'm sorry, it's probably torture for most people. We just passed that one, but airline travel, we're probably all winning on this year. And the next one, I think that Lauren, we're really moving quickly now. If you looked at diet, your choices also there will have an impact. And so you can see how adjustments in your diet can reduce carbon emissions. Now let's stay on this one. We want to talk about heating. That is what you're here for tonight. One of the reasons you're here tonight. And this is one of the reasons why we felt really strongly about launching the carbon tracker at the same time that we were working on launching EnergySmart homes. Oil is the least efficient way of heating your home. And the average home has nearly 6 tons of carbon impact from an oil furnace. Natural gas burns cleaner, but you can see there's leakage, and that leakage actually nullifies its environmental benefit. So stepping down to heat pumps, which is part of the EnergySmart Homes program, reduces your emissions tremendously and gets our homes off of fossil fuels and reduces carbon emissions. So with these step down charts, we hope that we have convinced you that there are things we can do to reduce our carbon impact. Some are simple in our daily life, and some are going to be more opportunistic when we're getting a new car or a new furnace. Next slide. So just before I leave you, let's take a quick look at Greater Ossining's carbon emission equivalents annually. Next slide. As you can see, transportation sector is the single largest driver of carbon emissions in our zip code. And following that is heating. Next slide, please. It's a little bit of an easier way to look at it by looking at the big hitters. And the next slide. So looking at our villages, you can see that the gas and fuel usage as well as carbon emission equivalents and compare them to both Westchester and the total US. I've identified that little box in red down at the bottom. The chart is really not intended to show who may be worse or who may be better off comparatively, but really just to show you that we all have work to do. And its intention is to hopefully get you to be curious about determining where you fall in the carbon tracker. And remembering at the very beginning when I mentioned that the average global ton per person annually was 7 and we are 21, we need to work on getting that number down. So next slide, thank you. Join us in learning more. We really want to help. I wanted to quickly introduce the Ossining 100 executive team and invite you to join us for our next open house, which is Monday, March 15th at 7 p.m. We also have online office hours every Wednesday from 6 to 7 and Saturdays from 2:30 to 3:30 through March. And more information can be found at greenossining.org. I'll also put that information in, about the carbon tracker in the chat, as well as the open house information. So thank you. Look forward to working with you. Please ask us any questions you like. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, Susie. That was a great presentation. And I know we went through the slides really fast, but I hope people take note of the next open house or the meeting so you can really drill down and make use of the carbon tracker. It's a great tool. Okay, so let's keep moving on. I know you're here for probably what you saw in the letters that were sent around. Hopefully you got the letter in the mail. Just want to mention again that EnergySmart Homes is a partnership between the municipalities of the town of Ossining, the village of Ossining, the village of Briarcliff, our sustainability groups of Green Ossining and Briarcliff Sustainability. And this whole effort is funded by NYSERDA. So much appreciation to NYSERDA for that. Okay, so also I just want to mention that this program is a statewide initiative. We're part of one of many local clean heating and cooling community campaigns. So if you have a house somewhere else in New York State or a friend or relative that lives in another county, they too can take advantage of these New York State rebates and incentives to make their house energy efficient. So we just want people to know that EnergySmart Homes is a resource here for you. You can call us at the Sustainable Westchester number anytime. We provide assistance to homeowners in helping them figure out which technology is right for their home. We have a list of installer partners that we recommend. 6 of them are on the call with us tonight. And we're really just helping homeowners find ways to displace fossil fuels from their life and move towards healthier and cleaner ways to heat and cool their homes. And now, why are we doing this? So it's important to realize that in New York State, 32% of all of our greenhouse gas emissions come from our buildings. And you probably realize this just paying your bills month to month, but almost 75% of the energy used in a typical New York State home is for heating and cooling. You can see here on the chart identified as space heating at 56% and water heating 17%. So a great way to reduce this average energy bill is by moving away from fossil fuels towards heat pumps and energy efficiency. And it's also important to recognize this idea of electrifying everything. So just as you're here, you're probably hearing a lot in the news about the importance of moving towards electric vehicles. Well, we really want to do the similar thing in our house. We want to move away from the oil tanks and the gas furnaces. We want to move towards air source and ground source heat pumps that are powered by electricity. And if you are part of Westchester Power or you have your own ESCO to provide clean energy supply, you can be heating your home with a heat pump and call yourself 100% fossil fuel free, which is a pretty amazing thing to achieve. So let's get right into the technologies. I won't delay any longer. Just as a review, we're going to be talking about home energy efficiency. We're going to be talking about air source and ground source heat pumps, as well as the heat pump hot water heater. So we know that everybody's house is different and maybe requires different technologies or different improvements to make it work the best way it can. So we offer a bunch of different solutions provided by different contractors. And the contractors are here tonight. As they're speaking, we'll be putting their contact information in the chat. So if you like what they're saying, it's up to you to give them a call, visit their website, and sign up to schedule the home energy assessment or the site visit. And if the call washes over you and you don't remember anybody's contact information tomorrow, you can find it on our website or give us a call. So we're going to start with home energy efficiency. We're going to move into the heat pumps, and then we're going to wrap up with some information about grid rewards. And this is just another graph, maybe more confusing than the previous graph, but I included it just to say that different contractors provide different technologies or overlapping ones. So we'll try to identify that as we move through the presentation. So we're going to kick it off with what is a home energy assessment and how can a homeowner benefit from one. Jason from Energy Management Solutions, if you can unmute and let us know, that would be great.
Thanks, Lauren. And I just want to say we appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. The awareness that the programs have raised, especially EnergySmart, is remarkable. The fact that there are over 100 participants on the call tonight is really great. And since starting in 2005, the awareness that we've seen over the years grow and grow is really something to speak about. So I'll get right into really what Energy Management Solutions is about and what we offer as a company. So as Lauren mentioned, we offer home energy assessments. We find that to be really the first step in any kind of home energy efficiency improvement. You really want to educate yourself on how the house is performing. So we're really able to offer a nice benchmark as far as utility bill analysis. We take a look at existing insulation levels. We'll take a look at the heating and cooling system. But really our primary focus is the insulation and air sealing. What we get into is we bring thermal cameras. We really try to pride ourselves on exploring and getting into every corner of the house to really identify, like I said, how it's performing. So the auditor will spend time either before or after. Now with COVID, obviously, we really enjoyed the face-to-face interaction. So we've taken other measures now to try to have some calls and conversations prior to our assessment and even during, to take all that into account. Because we know that, the assessment takes some time in your home. Some of the other programs that we represent are the Comfort Home Program, Assisted Home Performance, Empower New York, the SEALED program in New York, which you may have heard of in Westchester. We're a fully BPI certified contractor, and we have our New York and New Jersey home improvement licenses in various counties. Next slide. So as Lauren mentioned, the home energy assessment, we identify inefficiencies in the home, whether it's leaky, your house may be drafty, you may have certain rooms that are uncomfortable that no matter how high you turn your thermostat, you still can't get that comfort. And that'll result in high energy bills as your heating system continues to draw and fill the rooms with heat. Unfortunately, that heat is leaking out of the home. So we come in and we identify different ways to seal that up. Most of them are very low cost when it comes to air sealing and reducing your infiltration of drafts. And really that's explained, it's the heat escaping from your home from lower levels up and out. So as you can see in the demonstration, you have recessed lights, there's return grills from air conditioners, there's something called a top plate where all the sheetrock meets in the attic spaces, as well as exterior top plates. Next slide, please. So I wanted to share what an attic would look like almost during installation as well as post installation. So as you can see in the photo in the top left, this attic has already been air sealed. So as you can see, there's some, as we call them, white recessed light covers that are covering over the recessed cans. Now these are totally fireproof and seal any kind of air that may be flowing from a bedroom up to the attic, because that's where a lot of the heat loss occurs as well. So we go through, we seal a lot of penetrations, we make sure that that attic flat is really, air sealed properly. That way that heat will stay in the conditioned spaces. And after all the prep work is done, as you can see in the picture to the right, then the fun starts. Then we actually blow our insulation on top. As you can see in the photo, he's still cleaning up, so there's still a little bit of debris that would be picked up. But for the most part, I wanted to share what the home would look like, during installation as well as after. And then the next slide will show out what a completed attic will look like. Next slide, please. So on the top left is a picture of what's called an attic thermodome. Now this is a very common improvement. Most homes have an attic hatch, whether it be in the hallway upstairs or perhaps in a closet. And something as simple as a thermodome, which is insulation board that's sealed properly to the floor of the attic, will reduce drafts. It's custom built, it's very lightweight, and really at the end of the day, it's just reducing that infiltration. Afterwards, on the picture on the right, as you can see, this is a cleaned attic space. The insulation is fully leveled, And this home is really ready for energy efficiency and prepared for heating and cooling efficiency measures, as really what the program's about. And as you can see, we leave pathways, we leave some area for storage. So if you have your AC equipment and it needs to be serviced, it most certainly can. And you still have some space for luggage or extra storage that you would like. And that can be determined, if you decide you want a little bit more storage, that can be accommodated as well. Next slide, please.
There are a lot of programs that NYSERDA offers for energy efficiency, and a lot of them are based on your income level. So when you contact one of our partner contractors, they'll be able to take note of that and then apply whatever program best fits your needs. So for homeowners that fall into a category of receiving SNAP or HEAP benefits, they can tap into up to $10,000 worth of free home energy upgrades. If you're someone that is receiving enhanced star property tax exemption, that means you probably qualify for assisted home performance, which can give you a 50% discount on home energy upgrade work up to $5,000. So pretty significant savings there. And the Comfort Home pilot for average income earners can give you rebates between $500 to $4,000 in rebates.
Thank you, Lauren. That's a great, let me just touch on that real quick if I can. Sorry about that, technical difficulties. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So just going back to the last slide real quick. Yes, as Lauren mentioned, there's different tiers for different incentives. And if you can go back one more slide, if you can, I promise I'll be quick. I know there's a lot of
You've
people.
got 20 seconds.
That's plenty of time.
Jason.
So as you can see on the left, this is wall insulation, which is a very common improvement as well. Homes sometimes built anywhere between, sub 1950s, there really was lacking insulation in these walls. So that's a common improvement. In the basement, where you can see a lot of draftiness or moisture, this is an InsoFast product that gets attached to the wall, and it allows any kind of moisture to run down the back of it. So which is kind of neat. So that way, you're not locking in moisture in the walls. So if you need basement solutions as well, this will all be all discussed during the home energy assessment. And without further ado, I know my 20 seconds is up. Lexi from Healthy Home is going to discuss all the advantages of home energy efficiency and clean heating and cooling. And she works for a great company. I'm sure she's got a lot to share.
Jason makes my life easy. Thank you, Jason. It's just like preparing. I'm going to try and cut my 4 minutes shorter, and then Jason and I are just going to work that way. I feel like
there you go.
He handles it there. No, don't apologize, please. So yeah, I'm Lexi from Healthy Home Energy and Consulting. Next slide. So essentially, Healthy Home is a home performance contractor, similar to Energy Management Solutions, Sustainable Westchester, and then all the boards have done a great job kind of aggregating a good group of us who work well together, who understand how to help guide people. And while our processes are similar, we always recommend you guys everyone call around and work with contractors that you're comfortable working with. So I'm going to kind of briefly review what we do, and it's similar to Jason. So essentially, a lot of people, some of these pictures you might notice you notice, oh, I have a gap in my duct, or my insulation looks dirty, things like that. And you think, this doesn't look right. What should I do? And what we always want to drive home, and what Jason did a good job explaining, is just treat your house as a system. So you don't want to look at one aspect of it. You want to look at every single thing and how it interacts and how it affects you as the homeowner, you and your family. Next slide. So you kind of notice the top image of this, Jason already touched on. Say we didn't plan that, we're just that good. But we're kind of, again, treating the house as a system, and we want to make that home's thermal envelope consistent. You don't want air leakage, you don't want things going out over registers, through high recessed lights, things like that. So we want to evaluate all aspects, including the mechanicals and the people and how you feel in your home. If I had any control over my thermostats at all, believe me, my house would be kept much warmer. So being cognizant of how people interact with their home and how they like it and how they want it to feel is something really important. But we're always kind of taking this look of seal and insulate and get that home and get the energy that you use to keep your home comfortable as low as possible, and take as much educated action as you can. Our goal, similar to Jason's, is to give you the information so you can make educated decisions. Next step. So essentially our goal, we're going to first, similar to Jason, we're going to test the house. Our evaluation process, the initial appointment is about 2 to 3 hours. From there, we're going to come back to our office, create an energy model for you, and return to your home and sit down for 45 minutes to an hour and review all that with you. Let you know what's going on in your house. Let you know what you need. Again, Jason did a great job explaining a few of these types of improvements, and we're going to go through all that with you. We'll let you know like return on investment for a project, what kind of incentives you can get based on what programs you're a good suit for. And then again, this first goal is to reduce how much energy your home needs. Because essentially, when we start talking about mechanicals, those mechanicals are still using electricity. We want to get that load, that amount of energy you use, as low as possible by using measures like air sealing, insulation, and being cognizant that when you're doing that, that's reducing that uncontrolled fresh air that comes into a home. So we want to make sure that if we are going to reduce that fresh air that's coming into the home because we want it to be more comfortable, less drafty, more energy efficient, we also want to be cognizant of that impact that could have on the indoor air quality. So kind of you want to extend the life of your current equipment, get the load down, and then when you do need to make that change, like Susie said earlier, when that point in your life comes where you need to get a new furnace or whatever, and you want to utilize a different type of heating and cooling solution, your house is kind of heat pump ready. That was the initial pilot name for Comfort Home, and I loved it. I understand it was as marketable Comfort Home, but it was initially heat pump ready, which I think is really great kind of understanding. And then from there, when it does come that time, your furnace or boiler goes, you're ready to install heating and cooling equipment. Next slide. So again, kind of just touching on it, our energy and audit includes oftentimes can do a blower door test, which is actually going to measure how much air leakage is kind of an uncontrolled air leakage is leaving your home. That conditioned air, your equipment burns fuel to condition air. That conditioned air then leaves the house, it kicks on, burns more fuel to do it again. We want to kind of get an idea of where that air is going to and get an actual number to it. We do combustion safety and efficiency testing, obviously a thorough interior and exterior evaluation of the home. We do infrared scanning of your entire home and indoor air quality sample. Because like I mentioned, when we're thinking about sealing up the home, making it more airtight, we want to be cognizant of that impact it has on homeowners and their families. We also we print out all that information and we hand it to it at your second appointment where we review everything with you. Next slide. Another thing that Healthy Home does is after we do these improvements is we install ductless air source heat pumps. So this is an option to go for electrification. After you had an evaluation and done the measures to make your home more comfortable and energy efficient and reduce your energy load, we're giving you the option of getting electrification. So there are both ducted and ductless systems, so heating and cooling, things like that are really, really efficient and they operate really well in the Northeast. And again, doing these things in tandem and getting that load down first can actually have a major impact on the sizing or how much energy the equipment needs to condition your home. So we always want to be very cognizant of that as well and taking that next step that if we go into a house and you can really, really benefit from improving the insulation or reducing the air leakage, we don't want to just say buy new equipment and resolve it that way. We want to make sure you're aware that you can reduce your energy use load, and that actually may decrease the size and in turn the cost of a air source heat pump system. Next slide. Yeah, so this is kind of a quick summary slide where the images on the left kind of, a lot of people may see these baseboard radiators and things like that. You want to add some insulation, some air sealing work. You'll see an image of an attic encapsulation. There's some heating and cooling equipment up in that attic, and by bringing that and utilizing spray foam to create a semi-conditioned space, as we say, it actually helps the longevity of that system because rather than it being above the insulation, it's kind of in an attic space now. It's a little bit cooler in the summer, a little bit warmer in the winter. It doesn't add load to it, but really kind of helps the longevity of the equipment. And the image below it is insulating the basement rim joist where like the bottom of your house meets where the top of your house goes, right in that basement area. We want to seal that off really well. And doing these items helps to create a good situation to utilize things like geothermal, that'll be talked about later, as well as air source heat pumps.
Which is something that Healthy Home provides.
Which is something that Healthy Home does. Thanks, Lauren. All right, next slide. And so that's just our team. Just a quick rundown of who we are. We've been in business since 2011-ish. Between Kevin and John are our owners, and it's something we're really happy and we're proud of doing. All my staff are BPI trained and full-time. So all that work is done in-house by full-time employees. So any questions or concerns, please give Jason or me a call, and I'm sure we'd be happy to kind of run it down, the different options that we do, why we do it, and how we do it. And that's that. I don't think I kept it under 4 minutes, but I tried really hard.
I know everyone's trying. Can you mention the cost of the assessment?
Yeah, so our Healthy Homes evaluation does have a copay associated with it. So the New York State does have the residential energy audit program that is free, where essentially the long and short of that is the state pays contractors a specific dollar amount to do a certain amount of testing. Healthy Homes testing goes well beyond that. So we have a copay of $250 plus tax, which we do credit back to homeowners if they choose to move forward with any aspect of your solution. Healthy Home does participate in assisted home performance as well as the Comfort Home program. We do not participate in Empower, but it's really great to have someone like Jason around, because when I do get a customer who's a really good fit, I have a good company to rely on and refer them out to.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lexi. I just wanted to clarify that because I see it's coming through the chat. And Jason says Energy Management Solutions. Do you want to comment on your assessment?
Yeah, so I forgot to touch on this before, but after the assessment's performed, we do have a nice clean report. We have a whole analysis of kind of how the house is performing, which we definitely share, as well as a list of improvements to make the home more energy efficient and more comfortable, and obviously reduce your carbon footprint. So I think there's a lot of great synergy between the programs and between contractors on this in this initiative, and it's exciting to work with everyone, and we work towards a greener future for sure.
Okay.
But no, we don't have any cost associated with our assessment, and it takes anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours to complete.
Good. All right. So if everybody's heads is not already spinning from just hearing from two contractors, we're going to move on to the next technology, which is air source heat pumps. So
But at least we're
as
entertaining.
questions are, yes, I hope so. As questions are coming to you, feel free to put them in the chat. We may not get to them right away, but it's a good way to remember your questions. And also, we're going to do these breakout rooms. So let's move to air source heat pumps. We're going to be hearing now from Larry, and let's go into Phoenix Mechanical's presentation.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. My name is Larry from Phoenix Mechanical. We're based in Elmsford, New York. We are a full service heating, cooling, and plumbing contractor. So while we've been doing a whole lot of heat pumps, we do everything else from gas boilers, you name it, anything having to do with heating system in your house or cooling or hot water, we handle that. Next slide, Laura. So, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of update you. Is there another slide other than this one, Lauren? Okay, update you a little bit about what is an air source heat pump and what forms does it come in. So many of you might be familiar with ductless heating and cooling. And pictured here are two different styles of wall-mounted units that you might find with a ductless heating and cooling system. One on the left, the console floor mount, is just that. It goes closer to the floor. And the one on the right is probably what you're more accustomed to, a high wall mount. Both do heating and cooling, and both are attached to a condensing unit, which we'll show you shortly, on the outside of the house by way of a refrigerant line. Generally, you need one unit in each room in order to get good coverage throughout your house. Open floor plans tend to be conducive to having one unit for an open room, just sized accordingly, but individual bedrooms would each get a wall-mounted unit. Bathrooms typically do not get these units. And I just want to stress, and I'll probably stress a few times here, this does heating and cooling. So the nice thing about heat pumps is you could kill two birds with one stone. You can get cooling if you don't already have it, and you'll get heating as well. So if you're ready to replace, if you have a 40-year-old oil boiler and you're thinking about replacing it and don't have air conditioning, that's a perfect opportunity to put in a heat pump system. Next slide, Lauren. This is another form heat pumps can come in if you really don't want to see wall-mounted units in your house and you don't have the ability to install ductwork in your house because of the architecture. You could conceal these units in carpentry, so you never see them, but it'll still provide heating and cooling. This is much less common than the other technology. Ductless are the majority of the work that we see. Next slide, Lauren. But the other one that's gaining popularity is a traditionally ducted heat pump system. What you're looking at there is an air handler just like any other air handler, except it's attached to a high efficiency heat pump on the outside of your house. This can be a great retrofit for people who already have a cooling system or heating system that's ducted. And it's a rather simple retrofit. It's just like replacing equipment with new equipment. And this can be your primary heating system. We would evaluate your house to make sure there's enough coverage with the existing ductwork to adequately heat your house. And certainly if it's already your heating system, a ducted system, it should transition nicely. And that's something we evaluate. And most homes are compatible with this type of system. If it's your sole source of heat, backup electric could be put in there as an emergency backup if there was ever a problem with heat pumps. But we try and size it so the heat pump will handle all of your heating needs. And again, I'll stress, this is also high efficiency cooling. So it's going to be a lot more energy efficient than the cooling that you normally get. And the best part about this is, as a retrofit, is it eligible for Con Ed rebates, whether it's a ductless system or a ducted system. The rebates are so big, and I'll get into a little more specifics shortly, they're so big that putting in one of these systems winds up being equal to or less than just your very basic air conditioning replacement. So there's kind of no reason not to put this in your house because of the rebates as they stand now. Next slide, Lauren. So this is what, yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
This is what an air source heat pump looks like. This is what's on the outside of your house. On the left, the double fan is typically what you'll find with a ducted system. And on the right is a single fan unit. And that's typically what you'd find with a ductless system. And you are likely to have multiple compressors or heat pumps on the outside of your house. Most houses will get 2 heat pumps. Larger houses will get 3 heat pumps. They have to be on a stand or mounted to the wall of your house, so they're above snow line. The bottom of the unit cannot touch snow because it could damage the unit. And they're also super quiet. So when you hear if you have central air conditioning and you hear that condensing unit outside your window, with these air source heat pumps, you will no longer hear that sound, nor will your neighbors hear that sound. So they're perfect for that. And they also can take up less of a footprint on the outside of your house. Next slide, Lauren. So I mentioned that the outside unit connects to the inside units by way of refrigerant lines. And the lines are covered in what we call line hide. And here's a couple of pictures or 3 pictures of what line hide looks like. And when we install these systems, we try and make it as discreet as possible so you don't have lines crisscrossing the whole outside of your house. And many times we could run through a basement with lines. We find lots of ways to hide lines so you don't see them on the outside of your house. But many times they are on the outside and they're covered with line hide that tries to match the color of the facade of your house. And yes, they can be painted. Next slide, Lauren. Okay, so a little bit about the rebates, because that's critical here, because heat pumps are expensive. But Con Edison and other municipalities, but Ossining and Briarcliff are in Con Ed territory, have very robust rebates. So you could typically expect a rebate that will range from $10,000 to $14,000 on the cost of the system, which in many cases accounts for half of the cost of the system. So we're really, you don't want to leave $14,000 on the table when Con Edison is just begging to give it to you. So if you've had any thought about heat pumps or air conditioning, there is no better time to do this. And the best part about the rebate, outside of the sheer size of the rebate, is you don't have to wait for it. It's an instant rebate. So it's deducted from the balance you would owe us at the end of the project. And we will wait for the rebate from Con Edison to come to us. So it's a win-win for everybody, and there's lots of financing options that we could offer, whether it's private financing or through the state of New York. There's lots to defray the cost in regards to financing, or nothing out of pocket. So we'd be happy to discuss that with you. If you ever want to schedule a meeting for us to come out and take a look at your house, there's no cost for us to evaluate your house to see if it's suitable for a heat pump and give you a proposal on what it would cost. And I guess that's it.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Larry. I'm seeing a lot of great questions I want to answer, but people can go to the air source heat pump breakout room and talk with Larry about their specific questions. And we're going to move now into our next contractor, Bell Heating and Cooling. We're going to hear from Keith Bell, and Bell provides a couple of technologies. Not only do they provide the air source heat pump options, but they'll also be talking about the heat pump hot water heater and moving us into geothermal. So let's hear from Keith and Giovanni.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Just a little bit about myself. I'm Keith Bell from Bell Heating and Air Conditioning. Our company is a full-service heating and air conditioning company. We're in Mahopac, New York. We've been here since 1980. My father started the company. I'm a Manhattan College mechanical engineer graduate. Got my license, professional engineering license, and I started working in the business in 1993. Next slide. Here's our building, is our team. We've been doing heat pumps since 1980. Air source heat pumps have been around a long time. They just haven't been as good as they are now. So the technology has gotten much better. And our first geothermal job was in 2004. So we have 16 years of geothermal experience. And we've done over 300 homes of geothermal in Westchester, Putnam over the last 16 years. Now there's basically 3 types of heat pumps that you saw the ductless options with the Phoenix Mechanical. Here's an example of that. You have your inside unit, your outside unit, your piping between. And then the next option is to have a heat pump with ductwork. So you basically have, instead of your unit being on the wall, it's now in your basement or up in the attic, and it's distributing the cold air and hot air to the house. So, I mean, we've been talking a lot about heat pumps. So actually a heat pump pumps heat. You already have one if you have an air conditioning system. An air conditioning system doesn't put cold into your house, it takes the heat out. So all a heat pump does, it does the same thing. It takes the heat out of the house in the summer and brings it into the house in the winter. And you either get the heat from the outdoor air or you get it from the ground. That's the geothermal. Next slide.
And Keith, maybe when we're on the slide, I'm seeing this question a few times, but could you talk about the differences between the heat pumps and a traditional HVAC system and the benefits?
Yeah, so the benefit of a heat pump system over like a regular air conditioning system only will give you cooling, doesn't give you any heating. A heat pump reverses the flow refrigeration and gives you heating as well. And the beauty of a heat pump system is that you put in 1 unit of energy you put 1 unit of energy into your unit and you get 3 to 5 units of heat out of it. So you're basically multiplying your energy usage. So it's why, when you say a furnace is 70% efficient, it only gets 70% of the amount of fossil fuel it burns. But a heat pump will actually give you 3 to 5 times the amount of energy you're putting into it, because you're not creating the heat. You're just moving it from outside or from the ground into your house. And that's why it's so efficient and so attractive. And there's a basic example of a wall mount unit. And we've talked about the rebates. Con Ed rebates are very substantial in the area. And with the new hyperheat type heat pumps that are capable of going all the way down to minus 13 degrees and capable of having 100% capacity at 5 degrees outside. So they're able to pull heat out of that 5-degree air. So the units have gotten so much better over the years. And that's why you can now comfortably put a heat pump in your house and not have another source of heat and get rid of the fossil fuel.
Okay, now we're moving to heat pump hot water heaters.
So using that same theory, and you don't cool anything down. You pump the heat. So what a heat pump hot water heater does is essentially takes the heat from your basement and leverages that to heat the hot water down there. So you have an electric hot water heater downstairs. You put 1 unit of electricity into it, you get 1 unit of heat out of it. It's a 1-to-1. But with the heat pump hot water heater, you now are getting 2 or 2.5 to 1 by using the heat that's in the basement. So that's why it's a much more attractive and more efficient way to heat your hot water.
I think this slide covers. Yeah.
This is what they look like. They're a little taller than your standard electric hot water heater. With the new energy code, if you want to have a large electric hot water heater, you're limited to the 1-to-1 straight electric. So if you want to go to a 60 to 80, you want to have more hot water and you want to use electric, the heat pump hot water heater is the way to go. They need to be in a basement, and they need to be in a place that's, not have a lot of very cold air. One of the benefits of it actually is that it will basically dehumidify your basement in the summer because it extracts the heat out of the humid air in the basement. You have to be careful though. You can't put them in a little tiny room because what will end up happening is that room will get very, very cold over time. So they need to be in a fairly decent sized basement with in underground.
Okay.
So ground source, heat pump. So now we're talking about pulling heat from one place to the other. The reason why geothermal is much more efficient is because now instead of trying to pull the heat out of that cold outside air when it gets cold outside, it always has a nice steady 50-degree source to pull the heat out of. And similarly in the summertime, when you're air conditioning, you want to reject heat. Your air conditioning unit rejects heat to 90, 100-degree air, where the geothermal rejects heat to the nice 50-degree ground. And that's why the efficiency is much higher. They're closer to 4 to 5 to 1 is the geothermal runs, and the air source go 3 to 4 to 1. So your ratio is better with the geo. And there are two main types of geothermal systems. One is a water to air, and then there's water to water. In the slide, here's a picture of a water to air. So if you see those two black pipes and there's some pumps, those things go out to the ground. And the rest of the unit is like a standard air handler. You have a unit that's in the basement, and you connect to your ductwork, and you run the duct through the house. That's a water to air. The water is down in the loops in the ground, and then the air is in your house. The water loops are sealed. They're just pipes that go out, buried in the ground, and come back. You recirculate your water like your radiator in your car, and you're using the energy of the ground, the temperature of the ground to conduct the energy. You're not flowing water in and out of the ground. So you're not like you're bringing water in and out and polluting or things like that. It's a closed loop like a radiator in your car. And the water to water, essentially, well, here's an example here. This is how the pipes go down, and you reject the heat and then you accept the heat. And one added benefit for a geothermal system, they have a thing called the de-superheater. So when it's actually running, it can give you warm water. So in the summer and the winter, essentially, you're getting, in the summer, you're getting free hot water. In the winter, you're getting a little bit of capacity off your unit to give you hot water. So it provides not all of your hot water, but it gives you an added benefit of getting hot water created from your geothermal system. This is an example of a horizontal loop. Instead of drilling holes and putting the pipes in vertical holes, we basically put slinky pipes in a big square ground. This was a house in Bedford we did in 2006. It was a 40-ton house. It was a big, giant house. They were very lucky to get a big, giant hole with no rocks 10 feet down. It's very rare in Westchester. So most geothermal jobs in this area are vertical well drilling. And this is an example of those black pipes off there go out to the heat, down to the ground. These are like the condenser units. So this is a split geothermal system. So what these boxes are essentially the same as your air conditioning unit that's out in your yard. We now, with the geo system, we now put them in your basement. And up in the attic, typically, was where the air handler is that these feed refrigerant pipes to. So it's similar to our AC system, but your condenser's inside. So that's another benefit with geo. The units aren't out in the weather. They tend to last longer because you're not exposed to the weather, and you don't have any condensers on the outside of the house. So standard geothermal unit, if you have say a 2 or 3 ton furnace in your basement and you want to take that out and put it back in, it depends with with the Con Ed incentives, and geothermal has a 26% federal tax credit. You start stacking those things on top of each other. Basically it's not that much more money than doing a really good regular system. And you now are benefiting from no fossil fuels. You're getting, that 3 to 5 to 1 ratio for the next 30 years. And the fields are guaranteed for 30 years by the manufacturer, and the pipes are very sturdy. They don't, we have very, very minor issues with fields over the years. And these are the rebates. They offer $2,800 for 10,000. So we basically are offering a free duct leak test with when we ever clean your ducts, we can actually show you how bad your ducts are leaking. We have a thing called an AeroSeal machine. Like we talked about, want to make sure your drafts are controlled. If you have existing ductwork, I can almost guarantee you that they're leaking. It's unbelievable. Back in the old days, we figured 5, 10, 15% leakage is acceptable. not when you're paying this much for energy. And the new code requires a much lower leakage rate. And you also want to be careful. You want to purify your homes too. And it's relatively simple upgrade to put a high frequency purification system into your ductwork.
Okay.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here all the time. Myself or Giovanni, we're glad to talk to you.
Give us a call. We'll be glad to come out, help you out.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Giovanni. So stay tuned. We'll be having our geothermal breakout room, and Belle will be in a breakout room about the heat pump hot water heaters and all their technologies in their own room. So we're going to hear from 2 more geothermal providers. Hopefully they can add a couple little pieces, and then we'll be able to get into the breakout room. So Rob, are you there? If you want to unmute,
I am
we're
here.
going to hear about what Geothermal Works provides for geothermal.
Okay. I'm Rob Foyer. I am the president of Geothermal Works. We've been doing this for 17 years. We've put in 400 plus systems throughout Westchester County and Connecticut. We're an alternative energy company that takes a very holistic approach to every single house, because no 2 houses are the same. As Lexi described and Jason described, you really want to look at sealing the house and making sure that your house is, the envelope of your house is as tight as possible, so that the amount of energy you put into your house stays there for as long as possible. Next slide.
I'm clicking. Okay.
Okay. Our geothermal system is not the same as Keith was describing. He was describing water-based geothermal. We look and install direct exchange geothermal, which is copper and refrigerant, as opposed to plastic and polyglycol. What we've done in the past is we look at a home and we try to figure out what is the best system for that home. And geothermal is not always the option. Like Larry said before, sometimes it is a ductless system. Sometimes it's a combination of ductless and geothermal. And we commonly refer to that as a hybrid house. You can't do the whole house because there's no place to put ductwork. The one thing I want to emphasize is the fact that geothermal is a forced air system. And a lot of people are very surprised to learn that, because they've got radiators and they thought they could use geothermal just to upgrade and use their radiators, which is not the case. Next slide.
Sorry, Rob. Okay.
Oh, there we go. So what we do, we spend a significant amount of time educating students, architects, and of course, our clients. We were one of the first companies in New York area to become BPI certified. We follow all the protocols, and we look at, like I said, every house and every customer. We like to find out what their need and why they're actually looking or trying to do geothermal or any form of alternative energy. Next slide. Okay. One of the big questions when you're installing geothermal, you look very upset. What's up? What's going on, Lauren? You okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I should turn off my screen. I'm working on the breakout rooms. Don't mind
Okay,
me.
you got me worried.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. So one of the key things everyone wants to know is, what does geothermal cost, and is it right for me? Geothermal ranges in price depending on whether you have 1, 2, 3, 4 systems in your house. How many floors, how many square feet, how well insulated, how many windows. There's a whole lot of factors. But we've narrowed this down to the simplest way to look at it to get a ballpark price. And I emphasize ballpark. If you go onto the calculator on our website, there's a cost section. It's going to ask you what the square footage of your house is, excluding your basement, what the square footage is of your basement, and then whether you have any wood-burning fireplaces. Then as you scroll down, it will give you 2 prices, whether you have existing ductwork or you need ductwork. So it'll give you a price needing ductwork or not needing ductwork, and then it'll tell you what the tax incentives are and what the Con Ed rebate is. The amazing thing right now, it's never happened. I've watched it. I've been in alternative energy for a very long time, probably 40 years. When you consider all the places I've lived and all the things we've done. But when you're looking at your home right now with the Con Ed rebates and the federal tax credit, it can be as much as 60% of your job or 50% of the job is covered by the government. That's a really, really big deal. So what we do is we look at your house, we walk you through, we do the analysis, we do the heat gain, heat loss, and figure out what size equipment needs to go in your house and to see if it makes sense for you and what the payback looks like. For those people on the call, thank you for listening. One of the things you want to keep in mind is whatever your bill is currently for cooling, geothermal will cut that in half. If you look at your electric bill in the winter, which is usually very low, multiply that by 3 and eliminate your fossil fuel bill of oil or gas. And that'll give you a really good ballpark of what to expect post-install. Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Really appreciate it. And thanks for catching us up on time. So Rob will also be in the breakout room to talk about DX Geothermal. Now we're going to hear from another provider, Dandelion. Corey is on the line. So Corey, if you want to unmute and share a couple slides, I have them up.
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. My name's Corey with Dandelion Energy. I've been with the company for 2 years now. I've been in heating and cooling for the better part of 10 years. Dandelion was founded in 2016. We started out as an idea in Google's parent company's X Labs, which is just like a think tank. And so the idea was, let's figure out a way to scale residential geothermal in a way that it's never been done before. And so we've been featured in a lot of different news articles. We've been published, pretty much all the major ones. If you get a chance to, highly recommend going to YouTube, checking out This Old House /geothermal. We were featured in one of their episodes last year up in Albany. Next slide, please. Oh, you went one too far. More recently, actually within the last week, Dandelion received its Series B funding of $30 billion, that'd be great, $30 million from Bill Gates's Breakthrough Energy Ventures. And so that money is going to go towards the further research and development for our company, as well as helping to continue to drive down the cost for ground source heat pumps, as well as some research and development. Go ahead, Lauren. So why geothermal matters, I think we can kind of skip some of these slides. We covered a lot of this throughout this call, but I do really like actually just real quick, I do really like this comment from one of our presidents. In the future, when we look back, combusting a fuel inside your home will seem like a weird thing to do. And I really hope that that is the case. So I think we can go past this slide. We can go past the next slide. We can keep going. So our process, what we do is we identify an area on the property. We do have some setbacks we have to abide by here in New York. We try to stay at least 15 feet away from the foundation when we're both driving our drill rigs and when we're drilling the borehole. 50 feet away from a septic tank and a leach field, 25 feet away from a well, and then 10 feet off of the property line. We're really drilling down, between 1 or 2 holes, depending on the size of the house for an average home. And we're going down between 350, 450 feet deep. These pipes are made out of high density polyethylene. They're corrosive resistance. They actually come on a big spool, which is kind of nice. There's not a bunch of different connection points that we have to be concerned about. It's really just one long continuous pipe up into the hole. And then right at the top, it's one connection, and we just bring that right into the house. This is what it looks like going into the basement. We basically cut a hole into the foundation. We'll seal it up, reinforce it. We'll pressurize the geothermal ground loop, which is made out of 78% water and 22% propylene glycol. We'll pressurize that and leave it pressurized for a period of time. Once we've identified that the integrity of that line is true, we'll go ahead and bury the line, and we'll bring the house back to rough grade. Next slide, please. This is pretty much what rough grade looks like. You know, it's one of the downsides, I think, with geothermal is that it just simply makes a mess, right? These are big rigs and we're displacing a lot of earth. We will make sure that there are no mounds or large rock clusters, and also that there are no depressions in the earth. But it would be the responsibility of the homeowner to make sure that they factor in landscaping, you know, seed, topsoil, things of that nature when we're done. Next slide, please. So this is kind of what we've seen in previous slides, what a geothermal heat pump is going to look like. It kind of looks really large in terms of in this photo on the right, but it's the dimensions are roughly, you know, 3 feet deep, 2.5 feet wide, roughly 5 feet tall. Then the idea really is to cut your existing air handler out of the ductwork, slide the geothermal heat pump in its place, land the ductwork, the ground loops, the plumbing, and the electrical, and then you're off to the races. We've talked about water heating and with heat pump water heaters. With Dandelion, we do provide what's called a D superheater, which is kind of a neat concept. One of these water heaters, the one directly to the right of the heat pump, is actually not connected to any power whatsoever. And its sole purpose is really to capture all of the excess heat and energy generated by the geothermal system and to store that and preheat the water to roughly 85 degrees Fahrenheit. I think Keith had mentioned previously that in the summertime, you're getting basically free hot water, and in the wintertime, not as much, but it is a great benefit to have preheated water for the domestic hot water needs. And then before we move slides, the image on the left is a kind of a neat image here. I know it's a little small on this slide, but it's representative of Dandelion's intent to innovate the heating and cooling industry, especially when it comes to ground source heat pumps. So we have about 100 sensors built into our heat pumps. These sensors are really cool because they give us the ability to not only determine how well the system is performing, so everything from incoming and outgoing water temperatures and pressures, but we also have the ability to remotely tune the system up, and it gives us a ton of great data that allows us to effectively identify if there are any potential problems that could affect the performance of the system, and then we can go ahead and proactively address those before it becomes a catastrophic failure and the system stops working.
Yeah, I believe so.
Next slide, please. And that's it. I'm happy to address any other questions in the breakout room, and hopefully, Lauren, I was able to keep that under 4 minutes.
Thank you, Corey. Much appreciated. Okay, everyone, we're just going to give you a little teaser about our other program, GridRewards. Michelle Delafontaine, my colleague, is going to join us. I'm moving to slide 4. And then if you want to know more about GridRewards, that will be an option for the breakout rooms. So Michelle, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lauren. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Good.
I just want to ask Matt, I'm going to ask Matt to mute. Okay, got it. Go ahead.
All right. So this is a quick one, and I can explain that in the breakout room. Sustainable Westchester is a program that allows you to earn cash by doing very simple things during the summer. It is called GridRewards. You have to sign up before April 1st. That's the best time. And then you are sharing your data with that company, Logical Buildings that has that application. And then you just wait for the summer, 3 to 4 events. All you need to do is up your thermostat by 4 or 5 degrees. And then you can wait until October to get a check in the mail. That application will give you a lot more than you need to know about your usage, electricity bills, and others. And I can explain you a lot more about this in the breakout room. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing because I don't know what's happening with the slides. Thank you, Michelle, for the overview of GridRewards. It's a great opportunity if you tuned into this session and you want to have an easy action item to save money on your energy bills and just do a quick sign up. GridRewards is for you. So actually, I better reshare the slides one more time because I have some instructions about the breakout rooms. So let me just mention that. Let's get right to our contractor meetings. There are a few ways. Oh, just darn, I forgot my other announcement. So one more teaser. If you are looking for information on how to sign up for a home energy assessment, feel free to contact us, and Hamza has put all the information in the chat for you to contact the contractor to set up the home energy assessment. We'll be doing this presentation again on March 16th at 7 o'clock, hosted by the 2 libraries. So if you'd like to come, repetition is sometimes good. You're welcome to join that. We also have a lot of information and resources on our website. I'm going to drop my contact information in the chat. We also have a little survey. If you'd like to give us feedback about how this evening went, we would really appreciate your feedback about the presentation and maybe what was confusing or what you could use clarification on.